Why do I prefer 3D-Coat over other softwares like ZBrush? For lots of good reasons. One of which is just like the materials alone. You can actually get materials that have PBR lighting to them, meaning that they are actually 3D. When I'm sculpting, I'd like to use something like a matte cap, which is fake 3D. There's no light that's being applied to it. But that's one of the biggest reasons is almost just that alone. I don't realize, I don't think people realize like when you're sculpting, it is really powerful to have like a tool that kind of acts and behaves the way that you would imagine it in its final form. I think a lot of times people get real caught up with the like how cool it looks for them at that very moment, but not realizing like perhaps that it's not a good representation of the final result. Like it's like when you are rendering and you're painting, like you're sculpting on some sort of well, let me rephrase this. It's like when you're sketching in your sketchbook or you're sketching in Photoshop, and then you start to try to render it or add lighting to it, then it starts to fall apart. I'm sure many of you guys experienced this or have some feelings about this. Well, it's sort of like that, but with like 3D when you're using something like ZBrush. And you have to kind of get an eye for what your sculpt's going to look like in the final result as you sculpted something like matte cap materials. Whereas 3D-Coat, like you can just get something that looks pretty cool pretty quickly. Like this is pretty cool. I made like a little pauldron. I'm gonna try to see if I can put someone in it now. Because then you can like switch back to a material and just see kind of how it's gonna look with some lighting on it. You know? And you can import your own materials too. Like this is my own little material that I made. You know, which is great. But I like matte cap even in tools like ZBrush because I'm used to it now. I'm used to using something like this. But let's show some other cool stuff. So this is not true anymore for 3D-Coat exclusively, but layers and nested layers, that's like huge. Like if I want to put this onto here, now I can essentially make a new object, which what I'll do in this instance is essentially just draw an arm. And I'll just kind of draw an upper arm kind of coming out of the pauldron. Let me do it like right here. Yeah, that will work. Yeah, and then I can start sculpting. And seeing as I might not see the inside of this pauldron, I don't think it needs to be anything fancy. And then what you can do here too, which is pretty fascinating, is that you can get like a cloth material and you can make all sorts of cool stuff. But let's do something like this, and then let's just start the simulation. And then you can see the cloth material will fall on top of it, like no problem. It's pretty cool. And then you can do some cool stuff, like you can move it around and it'll resimulate. So you can create pretty awesome stuff. Again, all in the comfort of 3D-Coat. It's pretty darn sweet. But I don't want to do that just yet. I actually do want to do that, but not right now. And I could do some other cool stuff. Here, let me show you. And for what it's worth, this is not even me doing a tutorial walking you through. I'm just kind of speed running. But we can hide I guess if I do that, so I'm going to detach this from this for a second. So I can hide this. And then what we can do is create. Oh, I should check my phone to make sure I don't have any meetings. I just realized I just started recording, not realizing that I have to probably meet up with somebody. My phone went off. That's why I'm coming off guard. Oh, this is my own reminder. Let me put this. Okay, and then let me just check my calendar, y'all. What do I have? Oh, I don't have anything until in the afternoon. Okay, cool. So you can kind of create this quick retopology, which is nice. And then I think we can add, I don't use this often, but you should be able to add like loops. I wonder if there's just like a hotkey. I forget. Honestly, I don't really need it to be anything more than that. So let's go back to the sculpt. And then you can do pick from Retopo. So I made my own little cloth mesh. And I'm going to go ahead and subdivide this a few times. I'm going to hide this. Actually, I want to scale it kind of. And then let's subdivide it one more time and just start this cloth simulation there. It might need more. And then we can fuck with it a little bit. Create some natural folds. But I mean, it's acting. Look at that little. And then we can do pinch. Gotta be careful. You don't want to have too much pinchage. And then we can do relax, which is pretty cool. But again, I probably would shape it a little bit differently because this is following the form almost too perfectly. And obviously it's on top of this silly looking cylinder, you know? But yeah, maybe I can get some cloth stuff like that. Or I can retopologize this entire thing and then start to sculpt on that. But the key takeaway here is that you can absolutely create some pretty quick stuff. And I don't know about ZBrush's latest and greatest stuff. I don't want to save this, by the way. I just want to keep on moving. I'm not sure if like in ZBrush you can do some cool stuff like that. I think you can. I think they've begun to. Let me get rid of this because it's going to distract me. Okay. With doing more cloth stuff, I think they've introduced a lot more interesting features within ZBrush. Oh, this is so high res. I don't need it so high res. Which is great because ZBrush is catching up. Yeah. And for me, like I've just been using 3D-Coat almost primarily for my 3D sculpting, including for like conceptual stuff, for in-game stuff. Like I've just been continuously using it. It's a wonderful tool. Oh, I don't want to sculpt cloth-like features here too much. I want to make this feel like its own kind of shape. But yeah, it's pretty wicked tool. And I'm not sure why people feel that like ZBrush is the best. And I have a few suspicions. I think one is just legacy. Like people just use it more. But people who started using something like 3D-Coat for as long as I have, for like the last several years, will just tell you like not only is it good for conceptual art, like it really is actually good for even some final modeling. You just got to get used to the tools. I think that again, if you are just a ZBrush expert, there's really no reason to abandon it. But if you're wondering why, like someone like me uses it, like it's just the speed is wild. And again, I'm taking a couple detours as I'm making this. I'm not even trying to be good. I'm just moving quickly, you know? And honestly, I've been watching my buddy Jama sculpt a lot, and it's just only inspired me. Makes me think that I should do more. But there's only so much time in a day. But I do really love to get incredible at this. I have some really fun ideas that I would want to work on. And one of the things that I love about doing 3D, it gives me just more access to more things. And as an artist, I just like making art, and I like making cool projects and working on cool projects. And so the more opportunities and the more things that I can use to make this happen, the better I'll feel. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to make this into a full-fledged character. I wasn't intending to, but I might. Depends on how much time we got. It's only been like 10 minutes. Maybe I can pull out a conceptual design of a character. Yeah, let's see what we can do here. Let us pull out an arm from here. And although that's not quite connected, and this feels like a little too big there, and I think this is proportionately wrong. So let's go ahead and correct all these proportions. Then we can kind of soften the blow here. Cool. I'm not going to get too caught up in details. Does this look kind of like it could be an arm? It's somewhat clothed. I think so. And I'll go with kind of the sketchy approach too. I won't try to get this too detailed. And then what we can do here is use this to kind of make some effective coverage. But yeah, if you look at like a lot of the stuff that people make with 3D-Coat, it's pretty incredible. Oh, what? Did it not register all that? Oh yeah, sometimes because I'm in voxel mode, it's just like, we're not saving any of what you just did. If you want to like merge it, just press enter. Oh, look what's happening on the side. I wonder why I was doing that. That's the only thing that I will say about 3D-Coat is like it doesn't feel nearly as polished as a tool like ZBrush. Like ZBrush feels super polished, and I think because of that allure, people think that it might be a better tool. But I'm not drawn to just things that look nice. I am absolutely drawn to what I think makes sense for my individual workflow. Okay, let's create some cool negative shapes within this armor design. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make some pretty meaningful cuts to this. Just curious if I should do that. Let's do this. Yeah, I'm not sure what I want to do. And this is more to do with me as the designer, not 3D-Coat as the tool. I'm just trying to think about like the overall design here. And I think this is okay. let's do some fun stuff. Let's make another, let's make another layer. Let's start creating some positive shapes here to help sell kind of what I'm trying to do. I like this kind of soldered look to things. And then let's do it from here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just draw it right on this thing, because I already like how it looks. Again, this is all conceptual. So this will make a lot more sense to me now if I can kind of come in here and create some sort of idea of like why this is latched the way it's latched. In my other video, I was talking about how I should do more studies of like practical things. And this is part of like I'm already like seeing, yeah, I should like look at more welded armor. I should look at like more like World War II aesthetic, because there's something really cool and attractive about that stuff. And basically start brushing up on like cultural world history and start to just expand my mind on knowledge of what makes people do things, like what cults are like, what cultures, what different religious beliefs are like, so that way I can start to expand my actual knowledge. Like a lot of times people focus on visual libraries as a tool, but what really can help you as a concept artist is to have just like peripheral knowledge of things, because that will allow you to essentially pull from reality. Like if you know how to draw really well, let's hide this. If you know how to draw really well, then this type of stuff becomes easy to pull from, including for like any kind of conceptual work that you might do. You might do something that's, I should probably just make this its own thing so I can do this. And then go back to this and then give it something that wraps around it. Yeah, let's just do this. Cool. It's exactly how I envisioned it. Give it some sort of latch looking mechanic. Yeah, because then you are pulling from reality when you're doing your conceptual work. I think if you are almost always pulling from your memory when you're concepting, and you don't have a lot in your mind because you're not well traveled, or you don't explore, you just funnel your knowledge to very small amounts of things, then yeah, I mean, this is going to be your limit every single time, Yeah, this worked out great. There's a tool that I used to use a lot. Let me see if I can use it now. And then I'll change this to 0.1, I believe. Yeah, great. So I can create more facets. And it's a little muddy, the sculpting. Not too much, actually. It's looking pretty cool. But when you start to throw on like materials, whatever that might be, it starts to be fun. And what's cool about these materials too is that I can still paint on top of all of this later. I don't know if I like any of these materials that I have. I already looked into basically downloading a bunch of smart materials. Yeah, see, that's pretty cool. And again, you might see some resolution stuff there. So we can kind of just increase some of the resolution. It could also be the material. I just realized the material might not have smooth shading on. Meaning that if I go edit current object shading, yeah, it has flat shading. So everything's going to be a little bit more faceted. And I bet this one also has flat shading. Yeah. Yeah, whether this is good or not, it's debatable. But it's, I feel like this kind of red plasticky material though. That's kind of tight. Um, yeah, I need to change the permanent settings. Get rid of the flat shading. There you go. And then I can reapply. And if you're wondering what the flat shading does, it just will render each individual facet and polygon on its own kind of normal, essentially. But this will just smooth it out. And it's still doing some weird stuff there, but that's because of the cavity and it's not as high resolution as it needs to be. High resolution, the less you'll see it. But from afar, conceptually speaking, this kind of serves its purpose. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be anything more than this, because I can go and start sculpting or painting on top of this, which I would most likely do. But what's cool is now that I have the material on here, whoops. I don't know why it won't let me close the split tool. You can kind of just see how the lighting will hit it, and it's really nice. It lets you just get a good idea. And if I like this material, which I do, then when you start to sculpt, you know, I think I want to reduce. Actually, I don't want to do that. I'll just make a new layer and just sculpt here. And I actually might need to. I'm just realizing the more I'm doing this, that this is absolutely turning into like a mini tutorial on why 3D-Coat's awesome. But yeah, now we can kind of just do this. What it makes me want to do is like make more offset materials like this. Construct a new shader. Black rubber. That sounds naughty. But you know what? It's a new world we're living in. Some things just got to be more naughty. I think that's all good. I need to just change these other colors. This one's gonna make a big difference. Looks like poop. More desaturation. Go back to this. More desaturation. Darker. And then maybe this is just super desaturated. Cool. And then give it some more gloss. Maybe just a little bit more gloss. Okay. Cool. And so with this, I'm going to go ahead and make some cool changes to this. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. There is another tool that I am very interested in trying more out, which is called Substance 3D. It has like a pretty non-destructive approach to 3D modeling that looks really attractive to me. I just haven't messed with it enough. And at the end of the day, like a lot of my needs are relatively served using, simply put, just 3D-Coat. Like I don't feel I need to use anything other than this tool. You know? Oh, look at that. I wonder why that did that. Fascinating. Yeah, see, that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to shrink this a lot more and then start to plug it in and insert it into these little pockets. And then just manipulate it some more. And what I'm realizing too is like I'm just kind of concepting. I'm not even, there's no reason why I should or should not make this work. And so I'm just trying to make it work since I have it. And what's cool is that I can then hold on, trying to duplicate it. Okay. Okay. There you go. And then repurpose this. Maybe use it elsewhere. I like to do that a lot. Let's bring it down here. Let's rotate it. Kind of put it. Actually, I was feeling like this was pretty empty feeling. So this will feel really cool, like right here. Yeah. I just need to make sense of it some more. I don't have a torso, so if I had a torso, I think I can find ways to integrate this into the larger torso, but this doesn't. So let's go ahead and just create a reason. Let's draw this really small tube-like thing and just say, yeah, it's just some cool compressed armor tube thingy that's doing something that we don't understand because we're not mechanics. But it's like, it looks like it might have some purpose. You know? That if we were to read the manual, we'll know more about what this is supposed to do. But that looks pretty cool. But this feels very barren. So let me see if I can create like some sort of visual interest by sculpting it in. And honestly, I think I can. I think I just got to commit to a shape. Let's use something that's a little bit more rigid. Dang, I was expecting that to work perfectly, but it didn't. Maybe this will be fine. Just commit to the shape. Yeah, this is fine. This will work for our purposes. And then we're just going to create more negative space to allow this to fit. The material's really helping me sell what I'm trying to do here too. But I realize maybe we can sculpt our way into it, but we can separate it first. Create like a true facet difference there. And then put on the rubber material. There you go. And then give this more resolution. Yeah, now oh, I don't want to lose that detail. I gotta press enter first. And if this doesn't work, pressing enter does not work, okay, there's another way to save this. Turn it into a surface and then bring it back as a voxel. And then same with this. I need to make sure that I'll keep some of this detail. I was actually more sure that it was going to be fine with that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if I wasn't talking and I could spend some time, ooh, hold on. I have an idea. Hold on, let's get rid of this. Oh, that's kind of tight, like that different color. But that was not my intention, so I gotta be careful. These happen at accidents. I mean, I do like it though. Let's just keep it. What would this look like if it was rubber? Okay, cool. So, yeah, with me just half baked, half chatting, you know, I was able to create something pretty cool, pretty interesting in a short amount of time. Granted, this is like only an arm, but if I wasn't, I would probably do more macro level stuff. I would focus on the larger pieces of the puzzle here. And honestly, maybe later this weekend, I might do some cool sculpting, to be honest. Like, I really want to get back into sculpting. And I've been sculpting here and there. But what we can do is we can take this, create a retopo. There you go. And it's going to give me something. And then what we can do is come back to the sculpt room. We can go to cloth, select from topo, and it's going to give us that bad boy. And just give it a bit of girthy. Make it a pretty girthy boy. And try to have it cover everything. It's not going to be perfect. Subdivide it. And then just see what happens with the simulation. Hopefully it doesn't start crashing. That's fascinating. Because I didn't turn off the other stuff. It's like trying to figure out how to cover itself on that stuff. It's like shrink wrapping itself to everything. That's really cool. I actually don't hate this. It's like creating like this types of fun texture that I just would have never gotten if I hand sculpted that. And I like how it's like we're trying to cover up our armor and pauldron. All that good detail that I put in there. What happens if I change this material to this? Why is it so weird looking? I think it's because it has... That's pretty cool. But that is not my intention. So let's just go ahead and keep it though. And then let us try this again, but this time let us hide all of this other stuff. Don't want to hide that. And then go back to cloth. Let's make it again. I'm gonna drink something while I was trying to figure this out. Yeah, I like what it's doing right here a lot. Okay, let's stop it right now. I don't think it needs to. And then let's go ahead and create something from that. And let us throw on this material. And let's give this lower resolution. Oh, that's right. It's not a smart idea. How do I do this? I think I can just straight up smooth it out. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the retopo too. Just delete this bad boy. Whoops. Oh, that looks cool, but that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, there you go. I just want to soften a lot of this like jitteriness, just enough that it's not too egregious. But from afar, looks cool. Oh, this looks wrong, so let's just try to fix that. And then let's bring back kind of like the other parts of this. So it just looks pretty cool, right? And then if we go to the render, and I already have a couple lights in here, but let's dim the lights a little bit. Yeah, and you get a pretty cool looking thing here. Let's rotate this to make this more appealing. And honestly, I'll just make this like a hot white if it isn't already. And then just really crank that up. And yeah, I could take this and then render it out. But what's beautiful about all of this is that what's beautiful about all of this is that when you go back to the sculpt room, outside of that really bright light, 3D Coat really provides a pretty accurate representation of what we're probably going to see it when we throw into another rendering software. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't too shocked to see what I saw in the rendering. In fact, what I'm missing, I feel like, is more just texture, but I can get that later. But in terms of just the initial read, this is kind of what I like about 3D Coat. Anyway, I hope this answers you guys' question. Turned into a bit of a sales pitch for 3D Coat too, it seems like, and showing you how I use certain tools. Again, I'm not like walking through why I use the tool and what I'm thinking about when designing, but just demonstrating, generally speaking, like how I feel about this software and these tools in general. And especially for conceptual purposes, this is pretty OP. So anyway, hope this was helpful. And yeah, I'll catch you guys when I catch you guys.